You know, as I get older, I think about all the people that we've lost along the way. Probably wasn't a good career choice for me to be a tour guide. What's going on, YouTube? So I wanted to talk about this because this was absolutely fantastic, but there's just been so many necessary videos that have had to come out because there's just been such good stuff to go over. But if you did not see it on the community cheers, they shouted out me. Thank you to Noah Broomfield. He says, love Jakeclips and all his content, excellent guides and advice for players of all levels. He does so much to share such a sincere love for the game. I just love his positivity and how much he makes you feel a part of the ESO community. And I wanted to kind of peel back the curtain on some of those things too, because I think a lot of times people are like, Jake, why are you so positive? You know, why are you always so happy when you log into ESO or make a guide about ESO? It always seems very silver lining if something might not be going well, like a bug or a bug fix might need to be necessary to fix something like the horse that disappeared from a lot of people's inventory. And I wanted to kind of peel back a lot of that information, talk about how I got into all of this type of stuff as well, and kind of give some pointers for people if you're ever interested in doing it, and just overall share some FAQs as to how I've done stuff in the past and kind of the plans also going forward. Just because I think it's a fun little video to break down with you guys. And obviously, I love you. So let's jump into it. So here it is. This was the beginning of the ESO Jakeclips channel. And ironically, some of these videos did very well, and I never understood why they did. For example, the Scrib Jelly video, for being my second ever YouTube video, just floated to 10,000 views very quickly, and I still really don't understand that. And the ESO All Motif Guide, which you can see right here, got 42,000 views, and it was just such a simplistic, quick video. I was just absolutely shocked by how interested there was a population for a lot of this content. So why did I pick these videos to kind of start off with? And the funny thing is so the ESO Gold Guide 2021, which is an interesting video. We might watch a bit of it here. So what I did to actually record that video was I would go to Xbox Game DVR on my recorded ESO clips, and then I would take those clips, put them into KindMaster on my phone after downloading them, and then I would just do an audio voiceover on my phone. And I was constantly running into this problem where like the clips like weren't long enough. So KindMaster has this thing where if a clip is like a minute, you can record, but if you go past a minute, it just stops recording. So I kept trying to figure out how long I needed to make these Xbox clips, because I'd be like, oh, I want to talk about, you know, like how to farm resources or whatever. And I was constantly running into that problem. So that's why we started to do things a little bit different, which I'll talk about here. But a lot of these videos are just kind of fun to go back and look at. Some of these have been unlisted as well. I do plan to continue to unlist certain videos that just aren't relevant anymore. Like, for example, you won't see any of the old Golden Vendor videos. I have found that people actually go back and watch them, though. I think it's just because ever since I've started to do the puns, people are just like, well, let's go see how terrible it was. And then, you know, stick around throughout the video, you know, see what was going on that week. And so my new approach for a lot of these older videos is to actually cut out a lot of the yapping. So you may know, and you may remember, that sometimes there were some tangents, right? A couple ramblings. And I know that I have notorious for yapping and rambling. And so I wanted to basically take some time to go through and cut some of the videos for just irrelevant information. Not that it's not important. Some of it might be channel updates and things, but there are some videos that are actually pretty popular that probably could have a significant amount of their portions cut out. And that's what I'm going to be kind of targeting here is, you know, obviously the channel updates, you know, that I was talking about, you know, back, you know, 8 months ago when I made this ESO class tier list. Not as relevant anymore. The giveaways and stuff are relevant, but those have started to be put at the back of the video, so we don't need to worry about, you know, keeping those up top. I also, at some point, want to redo the 101 tips video because it's my most popular video, and I hate the audio on it. I sound like I'm a depressed fish inside of a big fish bowl, and I really don't like that. And some of my most popular videos I've had to unlist to just because they're not relevant to the year. For example, there's some unlisted videos on like Halloween events and whatnot, and I'm just like, well, who wants to go back and watch the 2022 Halloween update, you know? So unfortunately, some of my more popular videos have been unlisted, but I wanted to take some time to let you guys know that some of the older videos that were a bit rambly, I'm going to use some time to chop them up. And then some of the, irrelevant ones, I'm going to use to take the time to just cut them if they're not relevant and potentially remake some of them. So for example, this Crown Mimic Stones video I think is an absolute banger. Just because conceptually so few people know that you can turn Crown Mimic Stones into gold. Heads and tails of it is that if you make something in a specific style, you deconstruct it, you get that style back, but you're not spending style stuff because you're using a Crown Mimic Stone. So if you were, say, making something in the Breton style, but used a Crown Mimic Stone, and then you deconstructed it, you get the Breton material back. But it works, obviously, for the rarer materials as well. Oh, here's our old build video. That was interesting. You can see, too, that I really didn't have a good thumbnail theme, so I thought about updating thumbnails, and you can see I actually did it for the motif one, just because it's been such a long time ago. Yeah, we've come a long way when it came to doing this, and obviously the audio sounds significantly better than if you were to record it on a phone. But you can see, too, like, I've always tried to cover things that were different. You can see a lot of these videos, who's making an egg farming video, who's doing videos on specific stuff to Telvar grinding. I did an acronyms video. I mean, obviously, this thumbnail is just absolutely wacky. This is like in the depths of the Jakeclips channel here that we're really going in, but it's a fun look back. And this was the first ever YouTube video. I'm not going to make you listen to the audio because I actually swear in the first like 2 minutes. It's actually sort of like the first like 10 seconds because when I was recording it, I was constantly stuttering in the sense that I would say something incorrectly. I'd be like, "What's on YouTube?" And you'd be like, "Well, that's not correct. It's not what's on YouTube. It's what's going on YouTube." So I was a little unconfident. So I ended up just being like, "Welcome to my first fucking video." It was just a way to kind of be like, this is just talk about whatever and just jump into it and just have fun with it and don't stress about, worrying if it's going to be a good video. Obviously, this is recorded in 720p because that's, I think, the best that you could get when you were downloading clips off Xbox Game DVR. So if you're actually interested in making YouTube videos and all you have is an Xbox, my actual #1 suggestion to you is to stream to Twitch off your Xbox because you could do it straight from your Xbox, have it set to save your live streams, and then you can download those on a phone, computer, or anything that you would need to, and then you can then just kind of go from there and then chop them all up into different videos if you don't have like a capture card, which is what I use now as a capture card. That way it can take the Xbox screen and put it on a computer, but obviously not everybody has a computer because didn't have a computer for a long time. Another little fun tidbit is why did I make this my first YouTube video? And that is because my friends on ESO are all broke. Like, at this time, when I made this video, I don't think any of them had ever had more than 100,000 gold at once, at any point, ever. And they were all CP, 400 through 810, and it just made me filled with deep sadness that they were all broke. So I was like, here's a bunch of gold methods that you can do, and it will work for you. That was the mentality I had. That's kind of the mentality that I took into all of these early videos that you can kind of see is what's going to be something that a lot of people can enjoy, but necessarily to like what are some things that they might not know. Because like if you go to Elder Scrolls Online, right? Like if you're like ESO, that's not how you spell ESO. Like you're going to be filled with like tons of stuff. For some reason, a lot of the stuff isn't even ESO at all. It's not even, it's ESO, the content creator, who does make Elder Scrolls Online stuff, but not quite what we're looking for. Let's say you go to Elder Scrolls Online, you can see there's just so many videos, and a lot of these things, are similar in nature, and I really wanted to always be somebody that was doing stuff that was like very, very different. That's why you have videos like Spider Farm or even Scrib Jelly, which actually did really well, just because those types of videos like nobody else was covering at the time. And I thought that was kind of like a cool thing to do. And now we're getting into like irrelevant videos. So you can see I watched a 1 hour and 16-minute video on every Warhammer game, ranked worst to best. But sadly, Rogue Trader wasn't on that list, so it's kind of an irrelevant list in my opinion. But you can see that there's just tons of competition in this space, and I wanted to try to always be different. And another thing that I really disliked too was negativity, and to kind of touch upon the whole positivity versus negativity, just because it does get asked quite a bit. Why do I believe in being so positive? I think the number one reason is like, you play Elder Scrolls Online for fun. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't play it. You know, there's a reason why I'm not playing the sadness simulator and making videos on it, because that would be sad. Or the paint drying simulator, because that would be unfun. There's a reason why I play ESO. It's a fun game. And I also want people to get enjoyment from the game. And when I talk to individual players, people's groups, generally a lot of the times they're just happy to play the game however they want to play it. You know, there's no point in really being like, oh, well, we really need to make this different, or this needs to get a whole lot better, and trying to force through, you know, really like harsh criticism. Because I always feel like the best way to get any sort of conclusion that's positive is for incremental changes and decent suggestions. Because obviously, you know, you could say, oh, this whole system needs to be torn up and start over again. Well, that's just not going to happen. So suggesting that does nothing. But if you give 5 suggestions of small tweaks that could make something better, like when I talked about Tales of Tribute. Tales of Tribute is a little goofy, all right? You know, it's a little bit of a goofy card game. I made suggestions. Lower the amount of prestige. That way games don't take as long. Increase the rewards. And guess what? They actually did increase the rewards for Tales of Tribute. So when people say, you know, scrap it and start over, it just doesn't happen. So that's why when you kind of take on a more critical role of something, it's important to still be fair. Like, you can't just recommend things that are impossible to do, because then you're not really helping a conversation. And I've always thought that it's better to just educate people on different aspects of the game versus trying to use my platform to recode the game or get new features in, just because I don't think that that's really what a YouTube channel is for. You know, I'm not making a video that's dedicated to the ESO developers. I'm making a video that's dedicated to you guys. And another really good reason that kind of encapsulates my love for ESO and the positivity surrounding it is when I received the tweet, because they pinged me on Twitter about it, I was driving to the hospital because one of my clients went to the hospital after having a psychiatric problem. So, you know, when I'm at work, you know, I'm dealing with harsh things, and a lot of people too. How many people have fun at their 9 to 5, 8 to 4:30 job, or whatever time period you work? A lot of people, you know, they want to come home and they want to decompress, and they want to kind of focus on positive things, and they want games, coping mechanisms, or fun activities that they do to be stress relieving. It's not really stress relieving if I make a script about, I hate this, I hate that, this is stupid, these guys are silly gooses, you know, they really should do this, this, and this. You know, I just don't really want to get into all of that, because then it's like I'm just going from a stressful situation to another stressful situation, and there should be, you know, there'd be no real positive impact for me doing that. I also think that if I made a video like that, unfortunately, it probably would come across very uncriticisable, in that I don't think it's going to be something that would be productive. Like, I don't think the developers would watch it and go, oh yeah, we should change this, this, and this. Even on the developers live stream, we were kind of like talking about features and things being added. It was like, you know, if you have suggestions, put it in the ESO forums, make small tweaks, suggestions, how they can kind of use other systems and kind of mesh them into one. You know, for example, people have common suggestions about like being able to stack maps. I know the developers have talked about why that's such a hard coding problem, because that's been coded in the game, you know, since 2014. But it's nice too, is that even if you are somebody that never knew the answer as to why that's so difficult, well, now you do, but it's in the forums. You know, there's whole forums dedicated to small tweaks. Sometimes the developers respond and say, hey, we're trying to do that. It's going to be a little tricky, just based on some coding problems that we're having. And I think that's nice to know. Like, hey, you know, while we want to fix something like that, it's going to be a little bit more tricky. Because a lot of times people think that certain things are easy to fix versus more difficult. And I definitely think that that's true. But ESO has also been out for 10 years. So it's got 10 years worth of coding and programs and bugs. It's a Bethesda game. And to kind of wrap up this point, I've always been somebody that's kind of taken this mindset, and I think that it's helped too. And I'll go into some analytic details here with you guys next, but I think that if you create positivity in your Discords, Twitters, Facebooks, guilds, YouTube pages, you're going to receive the majority of that back. Obviously, not everybody is always jumping for joy. You know, I don't think that that's a reasonable expectation. But what I do think, though, is that you can generally foster that environment, and then that environment will then reflect back to you. Like sometimes I don't want to stream because I'm like, man, work today was absolutely crazy. You know, so I'll take time off streaming. I might then you do some more work on a video, or I might take some time to respond to YouTube comments. And I'm like, man, these YouTube comments are absolutely incredible to read. They're very positive, very funny. They're filled with puns, terrible jokes that are incredible. Positive feedback, and it just makes the whole process of content creation better. The only benefit to doing like a negative video is generally that negativity generally does get more views, but I just don't think that it's worth it in the long run, because I don't think that it would be productive in getting any sort of response from ZeniMax, which in theory is the only reason to do a negative video, because what else would I be trying to do? Get people to stop playing ESO? Well, that would just completely ruin the game that I make content on, so that would be a goofy reason. So the only reason to make a negative video, if that's your only thing that you're mentioning without any constructive criticism, is for the developers to see it. I don't think a YouTube video is the best place to do that, just because they spend so much time on the forums, and there's so many YouTube videos out there. How are they even going to see it? You know, they don't log in on their, they don't clock in and then go to YouTube as soon as they log in, but they do monitor the forums. The only real benefit is just the amount of views that you get, and then views obviously equal money, and then, people can do whatever with money. But, I think that doing YouTube for me is not about money. I don't do it full time, so it's not something that I constantly stress about, like, oh, if I don't get, 200,000 views this month, I can't afford blah, 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 blah. I hate the idea of ever being in that situation, for two reasons. The first one being is that I just don't want to ever have to set up myself to be reliant on analytics of the internet, because that just sounds stressful. And the second thing is I just enjoy my actual job solving complex problems in the community. So if I was ever in a situation where I had to just do YouTube full time, I think I would be kind of like more annoyed with it. I'd be more stressed about it. When you treat something as a fun side hobby, it doesn't matter how successful it gets. It's still a fun side hobby, because you still have a normal job that will take care of everything. So if the side hobby completely collapses one day, well, we'll try something different. We'll keep trying to innovate. You could see I'm somebody that's always trying to do different things. That's from thumbnails. You could even see here on screen, we've got different thumbnails that we've kind of used and tried in different things. Old format up here, new format down here. We're always trying to experiment. I'm trying to figure out, obviously, two better ways to script information versus talk, because I always try to keep my information more like conversational. To me, that's how it's always been better. I always hated when people read off like 5 bullet points very quickly, and then they just kind of move on and then move to the next thing. And I've always felt that if somebody was going to break down some information to me, I would be on like a personal level, like I'm talking to you in an Xbox Live party. And that's the tone that I've always gone for. I know that sometimes it becomes a bit tangent-esque, yappy, or maybe sometimes too it just feels a little bit hard to understand. And I understand that. Sometimes it's nice to have bullet points. I'm not saying it's the perfect approach by any means. That's the one that I've taken in my videos and I've kind of gone forward with and wanted to really push upon. And just to illustrate, the general likes versus dislikes, you can see right here, I just pulled up my most recent video, which is the Tuesday Vendors Review that had a 99.4% like ratio. My channel average is 97.3. Ironically, my most disliked things are the YouTube Shorts. I think it's just because they're relatively cheesy, and I keep converting some of my intro puns into YouTube Shorts, just because I think it's kind of funny. But that's kind of where I wanted to then start to ask you guys for different types of feedback. You stayed around to this portion of the video. What are some other things that I can do to kind of refine different things, make things more enjoyable, answer questions that you may have, or continue to do different types of unique content that might not necessarily be covered? What can I kind of do for you guys? And the biggest thing that I kind of wanted some suggestions with is like how to refine playlist. If you guys had thoughts on playlist, also I'm hoping to be able to set up an actual official live streaming schedule now that we don't work crazy hours and trying to like figure out moving at the same time to figure something out like that. So if you guys have suggestions for that. The other thing too is if you have ideas for, I think a lot of people suggest chapters, how you guys want chapters to work, like intro, then maybe a specific point and another specific point, or, you know, do you like longer chapters, shorter chapters, etc., stuff like that. Any feedback on thumbnails, title descriptions, if you ever felt clickbaited, obviously let me know. There's a whole bunch of things, you know, I want to make sure that we're still doing correctly. I don't want people to think that they feel clickbaited. And yeah, I just wanted to take this time to kind of go over everything. Another important thing too is the giveaway drawing, to give you guys some feedback too on that. Generally, the people who find the secret word, they generally always get rewarded. Most of the time, I'd say about 75% of the people who comment, they will come and claim their winning comment. But I've noticed that as we've gotten more and more subscribers, we've kind of tailored off in how many people that are the subscriber drawing actually win, just because there's like 24,000 drawings. And, it could be drawing from people who don't see a video that month. So I'm open to suggestions on that, but obviously we've opened it up. So if you're following on Twitch and Twitter, you can get additional drawings. So if you're following on 3 platforms, your odds of seeing a video are higher. So I'm trying to always think of new ways to be fair to everybody, but also help, because obviously subscribers are important. Followers on Twitter are important because it just makes me look credible to all these different brands. And then, obviously comments are important too for the old algorithm. So all of it's important. I'm just trying to think of ways to tweak it. So I wanted to kind of explain some of those things and why some things are done certain ways, but as far as like playlists and different stuff like that, totally open to suggestions if you guys have them. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for watching. I wanted to kind of explain a lot of things, especially the positivity, because I feel like it gets brought up in the comments every so often, and it was a whole point by the ESO community development team for them to to put out that message about the positivity and the community impact. And I think it's just helpful to do. I think if you work in a job where you interact with clients, if you got family members, friends, guild mates, if you've got anybody that you work with, if you spread positivity, you're going to get it back. And if my like ratio doesn't sell you on that, just remember, my like ratio is that high, and I'm not even good at video editing. So, and a lot of times we go on stupid tangents. So for us to only have like a 3%, or 2.9% dislike ratio, that's incredible. So I think that if you're positive and you keep spreading positivity, it'll just come back to you. If you're like me, you come back to your ESO from a hard day and kind of feeling down in the dumps, you check those comments and they're just positive, because people are kind of taking the positivity and feeding it back. They take your goofy intro jokes and send more of them, and it's always just really fun to do. And sometimes live streaming is just fun just for the comments. I could just be sitting here talking with nothing going on, and it would just be an enjoyable experience. But everyone, thank you guys so much again for watching. This is a bit of a different video as always, but I wanted to obviously still talk about our 3 giveaway drawings, even though we've already talked about them. As always, leave a comment in the comments below. Make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube, following on Twitch and Twitter, and then look out for a random word to be flashed upon the screen with a small audio cue. Last month it was duck. I believe it was on a golden vendor video. So stay tuned, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.